If you want to rebuild your life, you must first have the courage to destroy it. Hate. Strength is never built on comfort. It is forged by cutting away what weakens you. Most people want to grow but fear losing what holds them back, and that's why they never change. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. These words from Niccolò Machiavelli are not about ruling over others first, they are about ruling over yourself. To rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist, you must become both the architect and the soldier, the planner and the executioner of your own transformation. Breaking yourself down first is the only way to build yourself stronger. Think about it. If a building is weak, if its foundation is cracked, no amount of paint or decoration will keep it standing when the storm comes. The same is true for you. Too many people try to improve their lives by adding more habits, more goals, more affirmations, but they do it on top of a shaky structure. They never stop to tear down the parts of themselves that are unstable, and so the moment pressure arrives, they collapse back into the same old patterns. To break yourself down means to stop lying to yourself about who you are right now. It means looking at your habits and asking which ones are secretly destroying you. It means admitting where you've been cowardly, where you've betrayed your own standards, where you've been living as someone smaller than you could be. This is brutal work, because it strips you of your illusion. You have to look at yourself without excuses, without filters, without the comfort of blaming others. Breaking yourself down is not the same as hating yourself. It is not self-punishment. It is self-honesty at its most extreme. It is like a sculptor chipping away at stone, not to destroy the stone but to reveal the figure inside. You are that figure, but right now you are buried under layers of comfort, fear, and compromise. Every time you face a fear head-on, every time you tell yourself the truth about your weaknesses, every time you let go of a part of your identity that no longer serves you, you are swinging the hammer that breaks the stone. This process will feel like loss at first. You might lose friends who only liked the weaker version of you. You might lose routines that felt safe, but were secretly suffocating you. You might even lose your sense of who you are for a while, and that is the point. You have to become no one for a moment before you can rebuild yourself as someone stronger. Machiavelli understood this in politics. Old structures must be dismantled before new power can rise. And in life, your old habits, your old story, your old mindset must die before you can become unshakable. When you break yourself down deliberately, you take control of your destruction. Life will break you eventually, one way or another, but when you choose to do it yourself, you decide what to let go of and what to keep. You turn pain into power because you are not just reacting to life's blows. You are using them as tools. This is why the strategist is feared. They do not cling to what is weak. They cut it away before it costs them everything. And once you are stripped bare, you will feel something terrifying and liberating, the feeling of starting again. That is the moment you can build yourself into something far more dangerous, far more disciplined, far more capable than you ever were before. But the first step always is to break down who you are now, to destroy what holds you back, to refuse to carry your old weaknesses into your new life. Power and resilience require strategy, not just willpower. Willpower is like a spark, bright, intense, and capable of starting a fire, but without fuel and direction, it burns out quickly. How many times have you felt motivated for a day or a week, only to watch that fire fade when life pushed back? Willpower can get you started, but strategy is what keeps you going when the world tests you. Strategy is deliberate, planned, and repeatable. It is the difference between a warrior charging blindly into battle and a commander who studies the terrain, understands the enemy, and attacks at the perfect moment. People often make the mistake of thinking that resilience means just pushing through everything, refusing to quit, no matter how hard things get. That is a noble idea, but it is also a dangerous one, because blind persistence can lead you straight into failure. If you are using all your energy running in the wrong direction, no amount of willpower will save you. Strategy is what ensures that your energy is applied where it will matter most. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote about how a leader must not only be brave but clever, not only strong but adaptable. Power without direction is wasted, and resilience without strategy is just stubbornness disguised as strength. When you begin to rebuild yourself, you must think like a strategist about every move you make. You have limited energy, limited time, and limited resources. Strategy forces you to prioritize what matters most. It asks you to look at your life like a chessboard. Every move has a consequence. Every sacrifice opens a new possibility. This is where most people fail. They waste their strength on small, meaningless battles. They fight with people who don't matter, argue about things that change nothing, and spend years locked in emotional wars that give them no advantage. A strategist refuses to fight battles that do not lead to victory. They save their energy for the moves that shift the game in their favor. This applies to resilience as well. True resilience is not about gritting your teeth forever. It is about recovering faster, adapting faster, and coming back stronger each time. If willpower is the ability to push through pain, strategy is the ability to avoid unnecessary pain in the first place. A good strategist studies their failures and asks, how can I make sure this does not break me again? They build systems, habits, and safeguards to prevent the same wound from happening twice. That is why strategic resilience is so powerful. It compounds. Each setback makes you smarter, faster, and more difficult to defeat. Think of a general who loses a battle. The unstrategic one simply says, "We will fight harder next time." But the strategist studies the loss, learns the enemy's patterns, changes the army's formation, and strikes back where the enemy is weakest. They may even retreat temporarily, not out of fear but because they know the right time to strike will come later. This is how power is built, not by constant motion, but by intelligent, patient moves that eventually corner your opposition. In life, your opposition may be your own fear, your own procrastination, or the people who doubt you. If you simply fight harder, you will burn out. But if you fight smarter, you will win. Strategy also protects you from the traps of pure emotion. Willpower relies heavily on how you feel in the moment. If you feel strong, you act strong. If you feel weak, you often stop. Strategy, on the other hand, does not care about feeling. It works even when you are tired, afraid, or uninspired, because it is built on a plan you have already committed to. When your emotions are screaming at you to give up, strategy whispers, "This is just one step in the plan. Keep going." This is why so many people admire those who are disciplined. They seem unstoppable, but discipline is not magic. It is strategy applied daily. Another reason strategy matters is because power attracts enemy. The moment you start building yourself into something stronger, someone will try to knock you down, whether out of jealousy, fear, or simple misunderstanding. If you rely only on willpower, you will spend all your energy reacting to attacks, defending yourself, and trying to prove yourself to others. A strategist, however, expects resistance and plans for it. They know when to ignore criticism, when to stay silent, and when to respond with decisive action. They never waste their strength explaining themselves to people who are determined not to understand. They choose their battles, and because of that, they win them more often. Strategy is also what allows you to turn setbacks into weapons. Willpower might get you through a failure, but strategy asks, how can I use this failure to gain an advantage? It might mean using your pain as motivation to prepare better next time, using rejection as fuel to sharpen your skills, or using a personal loss to gain wisdom about human nature. Machiavelli would call this turning fortune into opportunity, using whatever life throws at you as material to strengthen your position. Finally, Strategy gives your life a long-term vision. Willpower is about surviving today. Strategy is about winning tomorrow. When you have a clear strategy, every decision becomes easier because you know what you are building toward. You stop wasting energy on distractions because you can instantly see which moves fit your plan and which do not. This kind of clarity is what allows powerful people to seem calm under pressure. They are not calm because life is easy. They are calm because they already know what they are working toward, and every storm becomes just another step toward that destination. So as you rebuild yourself, do not depend solely on your ability to push through hard days. That fire will fade. Instead, craft a plan that will hold you steady even when your emotions betray you. Learn to move like a strategist, patiently, intelligently, and deliberate. Every habit you build, every person you allow into your life, every risk you take, should have a purpose that leads to greater strength. Power and resilience are not accidents. They are built step by step, decision by decision. When you think like a strategist, you stop leaving your life to chance. You stop just surviving, and start positioning yourself to dominate battles that matter most. And when you do that, no amount of chaos, pain, or failure will be enough to destroy you, because you will always have a plan to rise again. Emotional detachment sharpens judgment and prevents manipulation. This is one of the most powerful truths about human behavior, yet one of the hardest to practice. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. When they feel happy, they are generous. When they feel angry, they lash out. When they feel hurt, they retreat or seek revenge. In other words, their emotions control them like strings on a puppet. A strategist, however, cannot afford to live this way. If you want to rebuild yourself into someone who cannot be easily broken, you must learn to create space between what you feel and what you do. That space, that pause, is where clarity lives, and it is what allows you to make decisions that are not ruled by temporary feeling. Emotional detachment is not about becoming cold or heartless. It is about refusing to let your emotions hijack your judgment. It is about staying steady when others lose control. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must learn how not to be good when necessary, meaning that he must not be blinded by sentimentality. This applies not only to politics, but to life. If you let your emotions dictate every choice you make, you will always be at the mercy of others. They can praise you into compliance, guilt you into submission, or anger you into rash decisions. But when you are detached, you cannot be so easily played. You do not react on command. You pause, you think, and you choose the move that serves your long-term goals, even if it goes against what you feel in the moment. Think about how many poor decisions come from being overly emotional. People get into arguments and say things they cannot take back, not because they wanted to, but because anger was driving the car. They make impulsive purchases because excitement took over, only to regret it later. They stay in toxic relationships because guilt or fear of being alone keeps them trapped. Emotional detachment breaks this cycle. It is like stepping out of the storm and looking at it from above. Suddenly you can see the bigger picture. You realize that not every fight is worth fighting, not every insult is worth answering, not every loss is the end of the world. This clarity is dangerous to those who want to manipulate you. Manipulators thrive on emotional reactions. They want you to panic so they can control the narrative. They want you to feel guilty so you'll do what they say. They want you to get angry so you look reckless, and they can play the victim. But when you are detached, you do not give them what they want. You remain calm, you remain focused, and you remain unpredictable. Nothing unnerves a manipulative person more than someone who will not play their emotional games. Detachment also protects you from overcommitting yourself to things that drain you. When you are too emotionally invested, you tend to say yes to everything, every favor, every invitation, every demand on your time, because you feel bad saying no. But a strategist understands that every yes is a trade. Every time you agree to do something, you are giving away time and energy that could be spent building your life. Emotional detachment allows you to step back and ask, Does this align with my goals? Does this strengthen me or weaken? Is this request coming from someone who respects me or someone who is just using me? When you answer these questions from a place of calm objectivity, you stop living for other people's approval and start living with purpose. Practicing detachment does not mean ignoring your emotions altogether. It means observing them without being controlled by them. Imagine standing on a bridge watching a river flow beneath you. Each emotion is like a log floating down the current. Anger, sadness, fear, excitement, and you simply watch them pass. You acknowledge them, but you do not jump into the river and let them carry you away. This mental discipline allows you to act from reason rather than impulse. One of the most powerful uses of detachment is during conflict. When someone attacks you verbally or tries to provoke you, your first instinct may be to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, or to strike back. But reacting emotionally often gives them the upper hand, because it shows they have power over you. The detached person does not rush to defend themselves. They wait, they listen, and they respond in a way that serves their reputation and their goals. Sometimes the best move is silence. Sometimes it is a calm, precise statement that ends the argument without escalating it. Either way, detachment keeps you in control. This kind of control also strengthens your resilience. Life will throw betrayal, loss, and disappointment at you. If you are too attached to everything and everyone, these events will destroy you emotionally. But when you are detached, you can face pain without letting it consume you. You can grieve, you can learn, and then you can move forward. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting pain paralyze you. It is what allows you to see, even suffering as part of the bigger strategy, as a test to make you sharper. Over time, emotional detachment makes you harder to manipulate, harder to provoke, and harder to defeat. People will notice that you do not flinch under pressure, that you do not chase approval, and that you are not desperate to explain yourself. This will make some people respect you, and others fear you, but either way, it will make you powerful. Machiavelli would argue that such a person is dangerous, because they cannot be controlled by flattery or fear. They make decisions based on what strengthens their position, not on what pleases others in the moment. Detachment gives you freedom. Freedom from being ruled by the past. Freedom from reacting to every emotion. Freedom from being a puppet to other people's expectations. When you have this freedom, you become much more deliberate about everything: who you spend time with, what you work on, how you respond to challenges. Your life stops being a series of emotional reactions and becomes a series of strategic moves. And when your judgment is that sharp, no one can easily use you, control you, or break you. This is the most difficult part of transformation, because it forces you to sacrifice things you may have held onto for years. Things that once gave you comfort, identity, or a sense of belonging. Most people want to become stronger, but they want to do it without losing anything. They want to keep their bad habits and their old relationships, their excuses, and their comforts, while somehow building a new, powerful version of themselves. That is impossible. You cannot build a fortress on rotten wood. You cannot carry everything from your past into your future and expect to rise. If you want to rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist, you must be willing to cut away everything that drains you, distracts you, or diminishes you, even if it breaks your heart to let it go. This process is brutal, because weakness is often disguised as comfort. The things that hold you back are not always obvious. Sometimes they are the friends you grew up with, the routines you repeat every day, the job that pays you enough to survive but keeps you miserable and stagnant. They are the beliefs you inherited from your family that no longer match the life you want to live. They are the grudges you carry that weigh you down every time you think of them. When you begin cutting these things away, it feels like tearing off pieces of yourself, because in a way, you are dismantling the person you used to be, so that you can create space for the person you are becoming. Machiavelli wrote that a prince who wishes to hold power
must not be afraid of cruelty when it is necessary for order. The same principle applies to your inner world. There is a kind of necessary cruelty in personal growth, a willingness to be ruthless with what cannot come with you. You may have to distance yourself from people you love, but who refuse to grow, because staying around them would mean shrinking yourself. You may have to abandon a dream that no longer serves you, because pursuing it would keep you trapped in an old version of your life. You may have to confront the hardest truth of all, that some of the pain you've experienced is partly your own doing, the result of choices you kept making because they felt safe. The moment you see this clearly, you have to cut it off at the root. Cutting away weakness is not about punishing yourself or becoming cold. It is about removing the parts of your life that keep you powerless. Imagine trying to run a race while carrying a backpack full of stones. Each stone is a habit, a distraction, or a toxic relationship. You might still run, but you will always be slower, always exhausted, always wondering why others seem to move ahead of you so easily. Cutting away weakness is like dropping the backpack. Suddenly you feel lighter, faster, sharp. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the freedom you gain lasts forever. This process requires courage because it will not always be understood by others. People will question why you are changing, why you are distancing yourself, why you no longer participate in the same conversations, or spend your time the same way. Some will be offended, some will be hurt, and some will try to pull you back into your old pattern. You must be strong enough to endure their disapproval without turning back. A strategist does not make decisions to please the crowd, they make decisions to win. You are not cutting away weakness to be cruel or selfish. You are doing it because you know what is at stake: your future, your potential, your power. There will be moments where cutting something away feels like losing a part of your identity. This is especially true when the weakness you are removing is tied to your past, old friendships, family expectations, places you once felt at home. But growth always comes with grief. You have to mourn the person you used to be, the life you used to live, before you can fully step into the new one. This is why so few people ever truly rebuild themselves. They stop halfway, too afraid to let go of the last pieces of their old life, and so they never fully rise. But if you want to be unshakable, you must finish the process. You must be willing to let your old self die completely, so that your new self can be born without chains. The more ruthless you are with what weakens you, the faster you grow. This might mean cutting out hours of distraction each day, and replacing them with focused work. It might mean ending conversations that lead nowhere, and replacing them with silence that allows you to think. It might mean saying no far more often than you say yes. Every cut you make is an act of discipline, an act of prioritization, an act of respect for your future self. Each time you choose strength over comfort, you sharpen your edge. Eventually, this process becomes a way of life. You stop tolerating things that drain you, not because you are bitter, but because you understand the cost of keeping them. You become quicker at noticing what weakens you, whether it is a habit, a thought pattern, or a person, and you remove it before it can do real damage. This is what makes you dangerous in the best way. You are no longer weighed down by things that others cling to. You are free to act with speed, precision, and power. And here is the final truth: rebuilding yourself is not something you do once. It is something you keep doing for the rest of your life. Each new level you reach will demand another layer of cutting, another round of sacrifice, another step away from what no longer serves you. It will hurt every time, but each time you will emerge sharper, clearer, and stronger. This is the price of becoming unbreakable. But once you have paid it, you will never again be the same. You will have built a life that cannot be toppled by every storm, a self that cannot be manipulated or defeated easily, because you will have nothing left in you that can be used against you. And so, when all is said and done, rebuilding yourself, like a ruthless strategist, is not a single decision, but a lifetime practice. It begins with tearing yourself down, facing your weaknesses, your excuses, and your illusions with brutal honesty. It continues with strategy, choosing your moves carefully, using every loss as a lesson, and directing your energy where it will truly matter. It requires emotional detachment, staying calm when provoked, thinking clearly when others panic, and refusing to be manipulated by praise or criticism. And finally, it demands that you cut away everything that keeps you small, no matter how much it hurts, until only the strongest, sharpest version of you remains. If you do this, you will not just survive life's battles, you will rise above them. You will become someone who cannot be easily broken, who cannot be controlled by fear or flattery, who cannot be distracted by things that don't matter. People may not always understand you, but they will feel your strength. They will know you are someone who acts with purpose. This is the path of the strategist. It is not the easiest path, but it is the one that leads to power, respect, and inner peace. Tear down what is weak, build what is strong, and never stop refining yourself. In the end, the world will see not just who you are, but who you chose to become.